One of the questions about the writings of Maria Valtorta is the intervention of Pope Pius XII in approving their publication. Some people have said, well, there's no official document saying, I, Pius XII, approve the publication of these writings. And, a curious thing happened to me today because I think we have an answer to that question, or a little bit more of a clarification on that question, which I didn't know about. Was that the president of the Valtorta Foundation, the Maria Valtorta Foundation, Don Ernesto Zucchini, he said, Robert, you should interview this author, Gianluigi Porra. He's written a book called Oh, I Have Seen the Life of Jesus. And we did an interview in Italian. Sadly, this book isn't in English yet, but hopefully we won't be long before we get this translated and published in English. The thing is, when it comes to approval of Maria Valtorta's writings, this work, the Gospel as revealed to me, the poem of the man God, as it was known. Today, its title is the Gospel as revealed to me. Many people are saying, "Oh, I'm not reading Maria Valtorta because it's been condemned by the church. It's put on the index. Blah blah blah. There must be a reason there." And they just don't want to engage with the work at all. And I just thought it was interesting the connection back to Pope Pius XII. It's a lot more deeper and more interesting than people realized. Because what happened is Maria Valtorta begins to write in 1943. Like most of the work that we have starts in 1943. She writes her autobiography. And then on the 23rd of April 1943, she gets the first locution, and the work starts from there. So over the course of the next couple of years, up to early 50s, we have the works that we this great work, and then her other works. Pope Pius XII, however, did read a typewritten copy of some of the first works of Maria Valtorta. He did read it, and on the 28th of February 1948, he received 3 of the priests that were Servi di Maria, kind of the order that was spiritually helping Maria Valtorta, her spiritual directors as such. He receives them in the Vatican, very quick meeting. Because he had managed to read a typewritten copy of her work. How much we don't know, but he obviously did. So he receives 3 priests. He receives Father Berti, Father Migliorani, and their superior, Father Andrea Cechin, on the 26th of February. And in the course of the audience, the Pope gave his well-being and pronounced the phrase, "Publish this work as it is. Who reads it will understand." And he added, we hear a lot about visions and revelations. I don't know if they're all true, but some of them may be true. So this was what he said. In Italiano, pubblicate questo opera come sta. Chi legge capirà, e aggiunse, si sente parlare di tante visioni e rivelazioni. Io non dico che tutto siano vere, ma qualcuno vera ci può essere. Anyway, so he gives the approval to publish the works, right? Now, they go ahead with publishing these works according to the norms of the church. So you needed an imprimatur, right? And they go ahead, they start with a publishing house, Words of Eternal Life, and they publish a 32-page kind of teaser, kind of making people aware that this is a document that's coming out from this anonymous author, and kind of to make people aware of what's coming. And they get a bishop. He is apostolic. He is apostolic vicar to Swaziland and Italy in Africa, Monsignor Constantino Barneschi. They get him to give the imprimatur for this work, and the editorial house was located in Rome. Okay, so they meet Pope Pius XII, who has read typewritten copy of Maria Valtorta's work. Pope Pius XII says, publish the works. They go and they get an imprimatur as per the canonical norms that you needed an imprimatur to publish such work in the 1940s. They go and get an imprimatur, and they have a publishing house in Rome. Okay, all good. It's all going to plan. Pope Pius XII intervenes, and he sends by Pope Pius XII then intervenes again by means of his secretaries. His secretaries are Monsignor Montini e Tardini. Montini later becomes Pope Paul VI. And he said that to have a more secure approval. So he didn't want an apostolic nuncio giving the imprimatur. He wanted a more secure approval. Because the apostolic nuncio didn't have any diocese. And according to the norms in place, the imprimatur usually came from the place where the author resides or where the book is being published. Okay. So they go and they get another publishing house in Lazio. This is where the current publishing house is, originally founded by Pisani. They go in there and they get the bishop there, Monsignor Baggio Musto, to give the imprimatur. Happy days. We have a bishop that's going to give the imprimatur to comply with the canonical norms. Everything's going to plan. The Pope has intervened twice to make sure that this gets published with, a solid approval, and everything's going to plan. Happy days. What could go wrong? It's all going to plan. Not so fast. Not so fast. On the 29th of November in 1948. So this is February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. The general director of the servants of Maria, he wouldn't give approval for the publication of the work. Pressure was being put on the servants of Maria to stop publication of the work. And so Father Berti, he was sent to Monsignore Giovanni Pepe, who was in charge of censoring books. Now, so this is the saga. This is the saga that you need to know. Who is this Monsignore Giovanni Pepe? Well, he worked in the Holy Office with Cardinal Octaviani, he was one of the people that had 8 of Padre Pio's works put on the banned list. So this Monsignore, he actually asked Father Berti to hand over the manuscripts, the original manuscripts of the poem of the Man God, which Father Berti didn't do because they weren't his manuscripts to hand over. He handed him a copy, and he left the originals with the rightful owner, Maria Valtorta herself. So, it's all going to plan. It's 1948. It's going to plan. The Pope says publish it. They found a publishing house. It's domiciled in Rome. They're making people aware this is coming. They get an imprimatur. The Pope asks a future Pope, his secretary Pontini. You imagine you have two popes involved in this now. You know, a Pope and a future Pope involved. The Pope asks Montini or Tardini, look, don't use this bishop for imprimatur. Go and get get a bishop in that has a diocese here. They go and get a bishop in Italy who gives the imprimatur, and yet then some secretary in the Holy Office gets involved to put pressure on the servants of Maria to stop publication. This same secretary, if you think of the era, you have Sister Faustina, her work's been put on. You have around Padre Pio, his works and his ministry be curtailed. He was even suspended ad divinis. The same people that are persecuting Sister Faustina, the same people that are persecuting Padre Pio, are the same people that are persecuting Maria Valtorta. They're persecuting the servants of Maria. Maria Valtorta never wanted her name known. People don't know this, but this work was supposed to be published anonymously. Nobody was to ever know who Maria Valtorta was. But, sadly, things didn't work out that way. And so, if you're wondering who is the highest person the church should obey, which was the wishes of Pope Pius XII. They should have obeyed the wishes of the Holy Father, who read her work and who clearly says, look, I don't know if it's true or not, but who reads it will understand. He's not saying, okay, this is supernatural in origin. He says, I hear talk of many visions or revelations. I'm not saying that they are all true, but some of them may be true. Publish this work as it is. Who reads it will understand. And, there's no way we can take this out of context now. The Holy Father was involved with this work. He was involved to get it, to push it to publication. And there were forces in the church at that time who were stopping the publication of the work of Maria Valtorta. The same forces that were stopping the publication of the work of Padre Pio. 8 works. I'm just going to get it here. In the report between the Pope and the Holy Office in 1958 were not very easy. And in the testimony attached of Padre Pio de Petrolcina, Pope Pius XII, as soon as he elected, he had aveva avuto delle manifestazioni di stigma nei confronti della frate. He had a manifestation of the stigma in front of the brothers in the preceding years. And he was suspended ad divinis. We're talking about Padre Pio. The Holy Office continued to have a cautionary view. And they curtailed pilgrimages, they stopped people going, and then they put 8 publications about the life and the apostles of Padre Pio on the index. And the Pope was not informed. The Pope was not informed. Now this is really, really, really interesting. Really interesting when you read this. Because it was Monsignore Giovanni Pepe. You understand the mafia now. It was Monsignore Giovanni Pepe who did this. So the Pope was not informed, and he was reading. Imagine the Pope was reading about this in the Observatio Romanum on the 3rd of August 1952. 1952, which was what, 6 years before he died, 58. And his reaction was furious. His reaction was very, very hard. Monsignore Giovanni Pepe, who had signed the decree of the Holy Office, was removed from all of his duties and transferred. Get that, guys. The same guy, Monsignor Giovanni Pepe, the same guy that called that as they were progressing to publication of Maria Valtorta's, following all of the norms, working with the Holy Father, who had got involved a couple of times to encourage Maria Valtorta's publication. The same guy that then kind of put pressure on the servants of Maria to stop publication, that called Father Berti to Rome, that asked for the manuscripts to be handed over him. The same guy, Father Monsignor Giovanni, is the guy that was stopping pilgrimages to Padre Pio's tomb, stopping publication of works about Padre Pio. And as soon as Pope Pius XII learns about it, he is furious, and he gets the guy transferred. So now you understand the politics behind why Maria Valtorta's works were condemned. It certainly wasn't the Holy Father. So nobody in good conscience can say we shouldn't be reading or promoting this work. This work has to be read and has to be promoted. And remember, the greatest Mariologist in the world, one of the greatest, I won't say the greatest, but one of the greatest Mariologists in the world, Father Gabriele Ruschini, he does a book about the Virgin Mary in the writings of Maria Valtorta. And the secretary of Pius XII, writes a letter thanking him. Paul VI writes a letter thanking Father Gabriele Ruschini for the work that he did. Do you think this is condemnation by the Church of this work? Do you honestly think, when you read the saga around her work, do you think honestly the Church has condemned the works of Maria Valtorta? You can't reason otherwise. Pius XII says publish it. His secretaries help the publishing house to get a better imprimatur. They do. They get a bishop who wants to give them imprimatur. And then the same person that is shutting down Padre Pio, the same Monsignore in the Holy Office that is shutting down Padre Pio, is behind the backs of the Pope trying to shut down Maria Valtorta. It is quite incredible. It is quite incredible. I hope that this book by Gianluigi Porra gets published. I was trying to do a translation of this chapter into English. It's just brilliant. And I'll try and get it translated, at least that chapter, because it kind of brings into play the exact people in the Holy Office, the people that were destroying God's work. It's the same people that were against Padre Pio, the same person actually. You can't judge who this person is, this Monsignore, who he is. Like, we don't know, because maybe it was a very strange time. And remember, there was 200 and something mystics and seers being investigated by the Vatican after World War II. But it is known that Padre Pio himself said, read Maria Valtorta. Not surprising. Two persecuted saints being persecuted by the same people in the Vatican. So, anyway, just an anecdote about Maria Valtorta. Not an anecdote. This is history, not anecdotal. This is actually historical. This is history, historical, understanding of how Maria Valtorta got placed on the index. You have to look at who are these people placing it on the index, because you have from 48 onwards this continuous throttling of her work by those who don't want it to be known. Continue against the wishes of Pope Pius XII. Could Pope Pius XII have done more? It would be rare for the Pope to get involved and ask for an imprimatur in a book. The Pope would have just wanted the organs, the processes in the church to work their way. The Pope would have wanted, because lots of stuff was getting published with different imprimatur. He would have wanted the regular processes, but it wasn't going to be the case for this work, and sadly that put it back so far. But anyway, I think Maria Valtorta can rest secure that it was the same person in the Holy Office, the same people in the Holy Office that throttled Padre Pio, or the ones that throttled the work of Maria Valtorta. Padre Pio has been vindicated. He's been made a saint. And Maria Valtorta will be vindicated, and she will be made a saint in the church. No doubts, no shadow of a doubt. There's a reason why Paul VI wrote a letter thanking Father Gabriel Raschini for his book in Maria Valtorta. Paul VI was there. He would have seen. He was in the midst of this saga 20 years previously in the 50s, as when he was secretary of, or 30 years previously when he was secretary to Pius XII. As somebody who loves the works of Maria Valtorta, I think it's fascinating to see the time, the flow, because when you hear people's critics of using Pius XII to back up Maria Valtorta's works, well, people say, well, where are the documents? Where did he say this? And yet we have it there in history. We have the day that he met with the three fathers from the Servi de Maria, who were the spiritual directors of Maria Valtorta. We have the direction from Pope Pius XII a couple of months later to look for a more secure imprimatur, not to use an apostolic nuncio in Africa for this, but to look for a more. And that's an interesting development. It was like Pope Pius XII was looking for something more weighty to use for this imprimatur, and at the same time you have some Monsignore in the Holy Office who doesn't like it, and who's putting pressure on the servants of Maria not to publish. Don't go ahead and publish that. We need more time. We need to read it. We need to investigate it. We need to. And never has the church ever said that there is anything in Maria Valtorta's writings that go against the faith and morals of the church. And there is nothing. Even Cardinal Ratzinger, when he was prefect for the doctrine of the faith, he put a pause on a French publishing house that was promoting Maria Valtorta. He asked them not to publish any more of her works. And then a year later, he writes to them again and he says, go ahead and publish. You can start publishing her works. Admittedly, he said, as far as I'm aware, he doesn't say that the works are of supernatural origin, but he does make it clear that there's nothing in them against the faith and morals of the church. So you have, one of the greatest theologians, maybe a great pope, who himself made that judgment. And Pope Pius XII wasn't making any pronouncement of supernatural origin. He just said, read them. Who reads them will understand. And I think if we'd have followed the advice of Pius XII and just allowed the process to follow through, this is where Satan has done his utmost to destroy this work, exactly as Satan tried to destroy Padre Pio's work. And no wonder Padre Pio asked for these writings to be read. Anyway, I don't know if maybe other people knew all this story. I didn't know the intricacies and the details and the back and forth and the maneuvers. I suppose in Italy there's a lot more, but I just thought it was fascinating, the journey to get the imprimatur and the intervention, Pope Pius XII's intervention later on that same year in asking them to get a more secure imprimatur. He must have been following the work. He must have been following what was going on. And he had read, Pius XII had read a typewritten copy of Maria Valtorta's messages. And he must have read, it mustn't been just a glance. Oh yeah. He must have sat down, taken her writings and actually read them. Especially the early 1943. Well, I mean, there was a good volume of her messages then. You know, that he had so much interest in them that, you know, he has an audience with them. And then Pope Paul, he makes it known. Paul XII makes it known by means of his secretaries, Monsignor Montini Tardini, that to continue with the publishing, they needed a more secure approval, which they got. They got it with Monsignor Baggio Musto, and then the Holy Office. This Monsignore Pepe gets involved, shuts it down. The same guy that's shutting down Padre Pio. Now you know, guys. So read Maria Valtorta. Read her works. Read them for yourself. God bless you. Take care. Bye bye.